welcome to Creativity Talks with me, Hazriq Idrus, founder of the Speaking Factory, keynote speaker for creative leadership and communications. People have this misconception that creativity is only meant for the arts. So in these Creativity Talks, we are going to explore how creativity can be applied in many areas such as business, career, and life, and how creativity can help us to be better versions of ourselves. To do this, there will be invited guests who could be everyday people or experts who will share with us their journey and discuss topics such as personal development, personal branding, book publishing, mindset, creative process, and many, many more. I thank you for joining me in this journey where creativity and personal growth collide. Enjoy the episode. Hi, and welcome back to our next episode of Creativity Talks with me, Hazriq Idrus. And if you are looking, if you have been running events, and you know when running event there's always a hiccup, there's always challenges, and if you want to find out how to overcome this, in today's episode we have invited the founder of Up Your Game personal development community. He's going to share with us his experiences on how he overcome these challenges. So without much further ado, let me call upon the one and only Rahul Shah. Hey, hi Rahul.
Thank you so much for having me on board. Happy to be here. I was almost waiting for the confettis to go off.
Confetti, yeah, almost. Maybe next round. Hey, once again, thank you. Yeah, thank you for accepting the offer to come here to share your insights, everything. Yeah, how have you been doing, man, all the while?
Doing great, buddy. Doing great. Thank you so much for having me on board. Really a pleasure to be here. It's always wonderful to be talking to the creativity maestro.
Nice. All right. Thank you. All right. Yeah, people. Okay, let's start with just getting to know you, lah. All right. Let's share a little bit about your background, because we know that you started the Up Your Game. It's a personal development community program since 2016, around there, right?
Maybe end of 2015.
And 2015 now. Wow, it's about what, 6 years? Almost 6 years, yeah.
This is
wow,
6 years.
Wonderful. Yeah. Maybe you can share with us what inspired you to start the what we call it UYG, right? Yeah, Up Your Game. Share with us. What inspired you? Yep.
I think UYG was started as a passion project. It still is largely a passion project. So what inspired me to start Up Your Game was at the end of 2015, I was marking my 10th year in the personal development, professional development space as a speaker, as a trainer. So I was wondering, what can I do to celebrate or mark this milestone of having spent a decade in this field, in this sector. So drawing back on my experience, I realized that because I was doing mostly corporate trainings and programs, right? And that's where my main focus always was. And my realization was that although the emphasis was on professional development during most of our courses and programs, the classroom is made up of individuals. And these individuals, when they are attending these programs, they are also equally interested in using that opportunity for personal development, right? So just for example, we do a presentations program, right? And although the application is more towards how do you succeed as a presenter in a workplace environment, building your executive presence, getting your messages out across, solidifying your personal brand, etc., etc. While those are the personal development aspects of it, there are also the softer aspects and nuances that we often get asked about. Hey, Rahul, how do I become more confident? How do I overcome fear of speaking? I generally have social anxiety, so how do I overcome that? And this is the personal development aspects of what we are doing. So I realized that those people who are working in companies, they're very fortunate to have that avenue or that channel through which they can continually keep learning and growing as individuals. But the question is, what about those people who don't have access to that, who don't work for companies who invest healthily in their growth, in their learning journeys? Where can they find these opportunities to learn? And the whole idea of personal development in the end of 2015 for somebody who is new to that area is scary because courses are going for $5,000 a head, $10,000 a head. Anything that's free is usually a preview with very
True.
very aggressive sales
Sales
follow up
tactic and stuff. Yeah.
and stuff, guerrilla marketing and whatnot, right? So people, there was a bit of a aversion. I realized. I talk to people around me, all this hula bula and all this is all, it's expensive. It's a lot of rara. So there's a lot of negative misconceptions about personal development. So I was thinking, how do we create a platform which is barrier free, which allows about anybody to attend, which is agenda free. The only agenda being that everyone can come and learn whatever they want to learn and they need to learn. But there is no sales, there is no agenda to personal brand, there is no agenda to build reputation, there is no agenda, there is no ulterior motive. The only, I guess, the idea is to create a pure, safe environment where people can come, learn, and go. And that's it. It just stops there, right? So looking around me, I thought there wasn't many platforms. At the end of 2015, nobody was doing free stuff. Nobody was doing everything that was free was usually a part of a channel, a part of a pipeline. There was always an other end goal, which made people skeptical and a lot of this stuff. So even when we started at the end of 2015, and the first few runs that we did, people couldn't fathom me. They're like, "No, why are you doing this? You sure? No money. You mean at the end you're not going to sell me a package? You mean at the end there is no books to buy at the back of the room?" So there was a lot of distrust initially also. But as people started coming, as they consistently kept up with it over months became years, and I guess that trust developed, that indeed it's a space where we keep to what we promised, that there is a pure learning space with no other motive. And not only did the platform itself get respect and trust, but I guess the model also started getting recognition. People started realizing that, hey, actually we can give value, we can share learnings, and just put it out there, without having to have a so-called commercial purpose to it. I guess since then we have seen, and it's a very happy thing to observe that we have seen a lot more platforms sprouting up with more people coming forward, in different ways, in their own ways, sharing this journey, this commitment to fostering, to advocating personal development amongst the masses. So I think it's been a beautiful journey all in all. The whole idea was very much just to make sure that there's a space where people can just learn and to promote personal development amongst as many people as we possibly can. And after, I think over time we also grew, like we also grew regionally.
I remember. I attended your one of the conferences. I think it was 2017. Yeah, I think you did LLI, so a suite of speakers sharing of different topics, and I was in audience and I was inspired by the whole event itself. And running events is definitely not easy, and this is the topic we're going to do today on how you actually handle it. But before that, let's talk about the other aspect of this program. Is about creativity. Because this program is about creativity, on how you're going to use creativity in various domains. So for your case, what is creativity to you, Rahul?
So creativity is a broad term, and I think creativity better than me. So this is like a student speaking to his teacher, So I'm just going to share my what little I know about creativity, right? And you can correct me if I'm going wrong, right? But over my 15 years as an entrepreneur, right, where I've run multiple businesses and or even as a trainer, a speaker, having worked with so many people, what are things that I've been able to crystallize or the aspects of creativity into is two things. One is what you do to be creative, and one is who you need to be creative, right? So there are really two aspects for it. And there are four I's that I think we need to look at for both these segments, right? So I think creativity for me is boiled down to these four I's, right? The first I is about the ability to be inquisitive. So curiosity is a fundamental starting point in your creativity process. The ability to ask questions, the ability to be curious, the ability to explore, discover, adventure, the ability to challenge even sometimes existing norms, right? So I think inquisitiveness is the first I in the process of creativity. The second I is to be inspired, right? Not to inspire, but to be inspired is also important in the process of creativity. Because after we are inquisitive, we have discovered all these new learnings, new observations. We must find something that from all of that, something that inspires us. I think that's important, right? So all great ideas were inspired by something, right? So somebody, and these inspirations can come from our own observations. It can come through speaking with people. It can come from reading. It can come from getting involved in new experiences, right? So it's something we must find that one thing that could inspire us. So it's important to be inspired in the journey of creativity, right? So the more that we explore, the more we experience, the more we have room to be inspired. So I think that's part of the process as well. So the second I is to be inspired. The third I is to be able to innovate or ideate, whichever, depending on the application. So either we need to innovate or we need to ideate, right? We need to be able to come up with new ways of looking at things, new experimentations, new trials, combining different things together, fitting different things together, substituting things, repurposing things, adapting to existing things, whatever it is. But to be able to innovate and come up with a broad variety of ideas is the next step towards creativity. And that also means being able to not censor yourself, right? Because a lot of times we tend to censor ourselves. When we have an idea, we automatically, hey, no, like, that's a silly idea, right? When we want to do something, we're like, hey, no, I think it's, I don't think I can do it. So we automatically have this thing of self-censorship or self-cancellation. So we must be able to overcome that so that we are able to healthily innovate and ideate. And the fourth I is the ability to integrate. So all these different things, all these different ideas and innovations that we come up with, we must be able to find somewhere to fit it into, right? We must be able to integrate it into a work process, into a journey, into a project, into an application. We must be able to integrate it into something so that there is some purpose that it serves, right? If not, it just becomes a lofty ideal where there's a lot of substance that doesn't take form in any way, right? So I think the integration part is also important. So for me, it's about these four I's, right? So to me, creativity is basically that, and it's a journey, It's a journey where you are able to embark on this process of letting go of baggages, letting go of preconceived notions, letting go of past experiences, and be more forward-looking, and into looking at possibilities and opportunities more than what restrictions are.
Oh, so we can really summarize it into the four I's of creativity by Rahul Shah.
Nice.
This is very, very wonderful. So let's bring this application or these elements into events, because we've been running these events over 6 years, and of course that's beyond other events that have been running. And just share with us, have you experienced as you run through these events? Do you feel like have experienced any hiccups or challenges that some memorable one? I don't know. Yeah, share with us.
I think when you're running events, problems are always gonna crop up. I mean, this fella called Murphy, he loves to attend events.
It's event manager's best friend, isn't it?
Event manager's best friend. So you always have to expect Murphy to turn up at your door, right, and be a part of your event. So I always tell people who want to get into events that when you're doing any kind of events at all, right, I think everything in our lives is around events, right? Whether you're organizing a webinar, a seminar, a conference, a vlog like this is also an event. So I think events take many shapes and forms, and we are continually, in different phases trying to manage the different events in our lives, right? And when we are doing that, one has to be prepared to deal with, one has to expect that, whatever can go wrong will go wrong. So that is something that I think has to be expected. Now, why do these hiccups happen? I think over my years, I've actually been doing events for way longer than 6 years. Was a mid-journey. I actually started, not many people know this, but I actually started off early in my career as a business consultant. So one of the services that we used to offer as business consultants was event planning and event management services. So I've actually done my fair share of corporate events, dinner and dances, luncheons, so on and so forth. And to a point that we used to do our own public events where we used to hold parties, beach parties for 5,000, 6,000 people. You know, so that's a part of my life that I've put behind me. But this is something that I've been doing. So when you do events of that scale and size, when there's so many moving pieces, right? You have got a sound system, you've got a technical side, you have got your front end where you're doing your ticketing, you have got your money collection, you have got your baggage deposits, you have got your food and beverage, you have your alcohol bars, you know, you have got your promoters, you have your sponsors to manage, you have your logistics, you have got so many things that you need to manage. One of the things I realized that why people usually go wrong is because they go into this very fixed mindset of how things must be, right? So it becomes a very rigid thing that this has to be this way. And this is where you find that more things go wrong, because the reality is that events have to be treated as living creatures, right?
Wow,
with their own
living
personality,
creatures.
their own characteristics, with their own energy, right? And how the event builds up, how the event develops, how the event progresses, how the event grows is really beyond your control most of the time, because there's so much to it, right? You can do a beach party where 500 people turn up, but if out of the 500 people, 400 people ends up being of a certain profile, right? You're going to have a very low energy, a very quiet party, right? But if you end up getting 500 university students, it's going to be a very different event, and you don't know when you're selling your tickets. There's no way for you to know. Because you're not going to tell, you're 50 years old, like, you're not welcome for this party, it's only for university students. I mean,
never know, right? Yeah.
Good music, have good food, good alcohol. Who are you to stop him, right? So,
Exactly.
So you can't tell
he could be young at heart. He want to attend it as well. You never know.
Right? So you can't discriminate him for his age and say, oh, sorry, you're not allowed to attend, right? I mean, I'm sure some organizers do that, but the approach that I took is we don't. So you let whoever wants to buy. Now he's coming. So he go and tell his office colleagues, hey, I'm going, do you want to come around? And he ends up bringing 50 people with him. And you get 5 such people or 10 such people, you get 500 people of all the same crowd, you know? So you never know how the event is going to grow. So you got to adapt to how your event is turning out, rather than expecting your event to turn out the way that you want it to turn out, right? So even after that, when I started doing Up Your Game, I realized that, you know, being adaptable, being agile is extremely important. So one of the things that we used to do was at some point we even stopped taking registrations. We just put it out there, whoever turns up, right? Because I realized even if we take registration, what am I going to do? There's really nothing much I can do with the detail, the information, right? In fact, I think it restricts my speakers, because when you tell them that, oh, so far the registrants are of this profile, they try very hard to customize their talks to that crowd. Now, if on the actual day you get 10 walk-ins who are not from that profile, who have a different profile, they feel very disengaged and disconnected. So at some point, you just stop taking registration. So you just walk in, then everybody's in for a surprise. I'm in for a surprise. The speakers are in for a surprise. Everybody's in for a surprise, right? Then what you do is you feel your audience, you feel the environment, you feel the ambience, you feel the venue, and based on your sensing and feeling of that moment, you basically adapt on the spot, and you deliver what you think is the best that you can deliver, right? Not the favorite way for most trainers and speakers to do this, because a lot of them like to come pre-prepared. However, having said that, I think we have had some very interesting events with some very good responses. So I guess it works somewhere, somehow, where there's a bit of spontaneity, there's a bit of creativity, there's a bit of, there's more casualness, and it's more organic that way. It's less engineered. Right? It allows the event to take its own journey, right? I guess you got to learn how to let go. Sometimes organizers who are doing events, we try to control too much. We try to hold the reins too tight, right? And suddenly just got to let go and trust that whatever needs to turn out the way it turns out will turn out that way, right? So you just got to trust the universe with that and say that, you know what, let me in fact focus my energies on being more intuitive. To be more aware of my surroundings, to be more aware of the people in my surrounding, and to be able to connect with them and be able to quickly adapt to make sure that whatever is happening during the event remains relevant to that group of people, right? I give you a example, right? So at one of the events that we did, we ran out of time and we had 6 speakers left to go, and we had only half an hour and they had each prepared a 20-minute talk.
Wow.
So I had 2 options. Either I tell the other speakers, sorry, we have no time for you, right? But because the previous speakers are taking more time and they took more time, but the audience was also enjoying what they were sharing. So I didn't want to cut them off and deny the audience that experience either, right? So now I've got 6 speakers left. What do I do? So I quickly turned it into a rapid fire kind of a format where every speaker goes up and just shares for 4 minutes. After 4 minutes, you got a ting, and then you got a new speaker coming up and go in 4 minutes and ting, and then. So that became very exciting because the tempo picked up, the momentum picked up. Speakers are talking faster. There's more energy. Their body language is a bit more perked up. So there's more energy in the room. So the audience also feels the energy is contagious. So suddenly everybody's on their toes saying, okay, what is this person going to share in 4 minutes? And then the next speaker.
Wow.
It's like if you're a wrestling fan, it's like almost like watching Royal Rumble. It's like you don't know who's going to come out next, right? So
True.
So there's enthusiasm, there's excitement. It became very playful. So it turned out okay, right? But if you are going to be sitting at the back of the room so stressed, very, oh my God, I'm running out of time. You stress your speakers, you stress your audience, you stress yourself, you stress the whole event.
And the whole feel will change.
The whole feel will change, right? So you might as well go with the flow. Accept that this is where we are. Now, what can I positively do to turn this around? And that's where the creativity part comes in.
Wow, exactly. Wonderful. You mentioned about the flow, because creativity is about the flow, right? Once you get into it, you can just make wonders into it. Wow, I love it. All right. And running events, of course, is not necessary. It's very difficult to run a one-man show, and I'm sure you have team behind you, right? So how do you manage this team running such events? What are the challenges that you have faced? Yeah.
Bro, I think it's very important that when you are doing, not only when it comes to running events, but for anything that you do where it requires more than one person involved, there's always that decision that we need to take. What's the approach that we want to take, right? So we either take a managerial approach where it says, okay, this is my team, I'm the manager or I'm the founder, I'm the main person here, so things have to be going my way, right? Or you could take a collaborative approach and say, hey, everybody is here to support me, right? And they really don't have to do this, but they are helping me out with it, right? So I think that has been my preference, to take a more collaborative approach when it comes to this. Whether I was running it for Up Your Game or whether I'm doing it for my businesses, and when we have teams coming on board to support for the different events, I've always tried to make sure that it's more of a collaborative approach to running running the events with the teams on board as stakeholders, rather than people who are there to do your bidding for you, right? Because the reality is I always ask these questions: why would anybody want to do my bidding for me, right? And you're gonna look at it as something that's beyond an extension of yourself, and that's what again most people end up doing. This is my event. It's never your event. It's the audience's event. You are not running the event for yourself. You're running the event for the audience.
True.
Right?
True.
So end of the day, we got to take the I out of the picture, because sometimes when we put the I as a center part of the entire event, you're just restricting and limiting the entire potential of the event. So having a team also means you had the opportunity to tap into more people. You have the opportunity to tap into more ideas. You got to tap into more resources, because everyone that comes on brings in their own networks, their own contacts, their own belief systems, their own circles of influence. So it gives you the opportunity to really tap on it. So if you respect your team, take a collaborative. Does not mean, of course, you open up the floodgates and have no boundaries. Like, for example, in Up Your Game, we do have actually got very tight boundaries, right? Because there are certain ethos that we want to maintain to keep the sanctity of the platform. So things like, no branding means no branding, no sales means no back of room sales, right?
Mm.
So certain things, no money involved means no money involved. So the audience doesn't pay, the speakers don't get paid, nobody gets paid, right? So these are certain ethos that we have that we work very hard in protecting. So the first step is to make sure you're bringing on board people who are aligned with the
Okay.
fundamental core values, mission, and vision. Right, that's a great
Mm-hmm.
start. Because once people are aligned with that, in spite of knowing what those boundaries are, what those ethos are, what those vision, mission is, if you are still willing to come on board, that means they've already accepted the basics. Right now, respecting the basics, what else can they contribute? And it gives them the
Mm-hmm.
avenue to come on board and have more room to contribute as partners, as collaborators, as stakeholders, and that way you really benefit from the richness of that team that you have in
Mm-hmm.
place at that point in time. And I've been very fortunate to be have been supported by a lot of wonderful people along the way. I mean, Hazriq, you were there in 2018 when we did the Southeast Asia
Yeah, that
tour.
was very, very memorable, man. Yeah.
And you guys were the team. I mean, if you remember, it's just about finding when I mooted the idea the first time. I told you
Mm.
guys up front, that guys, I don't know who's gonna turn up. I don't know how are we gonna manage it. I don't know whether anybody's gonna turn up, because we were going to places in Bangkok and I had no network in Bangkok, right? I still remember 2 weeks before we were supposed to fly to Bangkok, there was no venue, there was no local, there was no audience, right? But things turned out like I think the important thing is the trust factor, right? And
Mm-hmm.
people
Mm-hmm.
willing to support you whether things are going great or whether things are going not so great, right? And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I've been very lucky to have had that community of friends of people who came on board to become that team. It was very organic.
Mm-hmm.
We never had a formal structure. We never
Mm,
had
yep. Yep.
appointments for people. It was all a matter of people who equally believe in what you are doing and want to come on board. And sometimes you got to allow these individuals to come and support you and acknowledge that you need their support. Because if you come from a place of ego that says, oh no, I can manage this myself and I don't need anyone, then you're not gonna make things work. So I think no matter
Yeah.
what kind of event you're doing, some events are more conventional events where if, so for example, when I used to do dinner and dances, we used to hire entertainers, we used to hire bands, musicians,
Mm-hmm.
magicians, send artists, drone flyers, photographers, videographers. They become your team, right? And
Mm.
sometimes you tell them, I want A, B, C, and they come back and say, but now A is not possible, because of the restrictions. You can't insist that, no, I want it means you make it work somehow. You can also look at things
Mm-hmm.
from their point of view and ask them, okay, then, because one of the things I hear very frequently, but we got another vendor who can do it, why you cannot do it? But the other vendor got their own setup. This fella has his own setup. Don't make him feel small. No, I mean, at the end of the day, he's
True.
already on board.
True.
So respect the fact that he doesn't know how to or he doesn't have the capabilities to. So what does he have, and how can we work around what he has? And make the best
Uh-huh.
use of it. Right? Sometimes it's about looking at that as well. Because to have appointed someone as a vendor and then close to the event date, then to go on a regret, yeah, I should have appointed the other guy. It's not going to do him good, it's not going to do you good, it's not going to do anybody good, right? So the reality is
Yeah.
this person is your team now, right? It's like
Yeah.
after your child gets married, brings in a son-in-law, daughter-in-law, and then you say, alamak, this person not good, I should have married somebody else.
Uh,
It really doesn't work that way. This person is already part of the family now. Whether you like it or not, accept it, embrace it, and work with it. I think find a way of helping each other grow, right? So if you
yeah.
look at each
True.
other as team members, there'll be more respect. There will be more room for experimentation together,
True.
growth together. And you work within each other's means, like you align your expectations and you find common ground. I think that's also
Mm-hmm.
important when you're
Yeah.
managing teams
Teams.
or you're
Let,
working
let's
with teams.
let's revisit the 2018, the Up
Yeah,
Your Game regional, because I think it was the first time you did it, and I thought
yeah,
it's very wonderfully done. We traveled. We went to how many? We went Bangkok, Indonesia. We went to
KL,
KL,
yeah,
Penang,
Penang.
right? And then we culminate in Singapore, and that was
Yeah,
like a good celebration thing.
correct.
Yeah, having said that, when we run all these things, right, teamwork and stuff, there will have to be in any setting, in that sense, there will have to be, even not an official leader, there will have to be somewhat a leader in that
Yeah,
sense. So your
yeah.
take, what the traits of a leader, so that this person can then make sure the rest of the team works accordingly. Traits of a leader.
I think the first thing a leader needs to have is a sense of empathy. Right? I think that's very important. Being able to put yourself in your people's, shoes, right? In the shoes of your stakeholders is extremely important. I think that's one of the missing things in leadership very often. So empathy, I think, is key, right? Number two is the ability to recognize the strengths that each person brings to the table, right? So as a leader, you need to be able to connect with your stakeholders, with your friends, with your partners, to know what is the strength each of them brings into the circle, right? I think that's very important. So, for example, when I did 2018, each person had a different strength, right? There was someone who was able to create humor and lighten things up when the energy was dipping. There was then we had Jeet, who was very resourceful in doing a lot of the back end things and ironing out a lot of issues before they cropped up. He's very meticulous, attentive to details. And then we have got guys like you who are really content specialists, who really is where the value would come from. In terms of models and strategies and frameworks. So you bring in a combination of people, you understand what is the strength each person brings in, and how do you put it together, right? How do you mix it together in a way that it's exciting, it's flavorful, it's not bland. So I think knowing the strengths of everybody and how those strengths complement one another is an essential part. But for that to happen, a leader must be willing to connect with the people coming on board to the team, right? Must be willing to spend time talking to them, observing them, listening to them, appreciating them for who they are and what they bring along with them, right? I think a leader also needs to be able to delegate and let go, right? I think one of the things about most leaders is they're not willing to let go. They like to retain control. They like to retain flavor. They want to be at the center of it all, right? So one of the things that I've made sure that I did at Up Your Game was I made a commitment to never be the speaker for any Up Your Game, right? And I think that's something I've maintained consistently, where as long as the Up Your Game platform, I'll never speak as a speaker, right? I'll host it, I'll be the MC, but as an MC or a host, it's always about your speakers, it's always about your audience, it's not about yourself. So that was a role that I was very comfortable with. I think leaders need to do that more often. You need to give the spotlight to the people who are making it happen for you, and recognize that it's really not about you, and you're not the one that's doing everything. Right? There are other people who are helping you make things happen. Sometimes you need to shine that spotlight on them. Right? So, for example, if you're running conferences and seminars, it's really about making your speakers look good, because they are the ones who are bringing the value to your event, right? And they're the ones who are making your audience find that this is worth it. They're the ones who are enriching your audience. So you've got to be able to put the spotlight on the right elements as a leader. I think that's also something that's very important. So offhand, I think these are some traits that I believe a leader should have, especially when it comes to running events. Because we very often see leaders who are very self-absorbed.
So you can say self-centered, but somehow it is something like that. And what you have said earlier on is very much your fourth eye, right? The integration. You're having you delegate out, you get everybody's expertise putting together and create the whole event and making others look good. In this case, making the speakers look good, other people look good, and I remember you like to follow Simon Sinek, right? And because of that, I have been following Simon Sinek as well, and I love his quote. He says, "A leader is one who takes care of the people under their charge." I think that is very, very one of the key things being a leader. Wow, thank you for sharing, Rahul, on this.
Oh, fantastic. In fact, there's a method to care as well. No? So if you want to care for your people, demonstrate care for your people, right? There are 4 things you need to do, right? You need to be able to frequently compliment people, right? We very often don't compliment people enough. Number 2, you got to acknowledge people for their contributions, for what they are doing, right? A lot of times we take things for granted, especially when you have been working together for a period of time, or you have known each other for a period of time, you almost come to believe that it's your entitlement. Yeah, he's my friend, so of course he's supposed to help me, right? Or of course he's expected to turn up for my events. Actually, nothing is expected. They're putting in their time and effort. So to acknowledge people is also a valuable part of showing care for the people that you care about. Random acts of kindness towards these people, treating them to a cup of kopi, tea, buying them thosai, prata.
Yeah, man, we are going to Potose.
I think this is important as well to randomly, be able to send gifts, treat people nicely. I think to demonstrate random kindness is also important, to demonstrate care, and lastly is empathy, lah. I think the last part is really about letting them know that you understand. Letting them know that you feel them, you understand them, you are willing to walk the path in their shoes with them. I think that's also an important part to demonstrate care, right?
Wow.
It's actually a framework for care.
yeah, exactly. That's nice. We have compliment, we have acknowledge, we have random acts of kindness and empathy. Wow, this is how you take care of people through care. And this on top of your 4 eyes, your framework of 4 eyes. Yeah, wonderful. All right, yeah. Wow, this is such a very, very interesting sharing with all the frameworks of quadruple I and care. If only we have more time to chat, I think this is going to be very. But probably we'll bring you again in the other episode. We're going to explore more in that era. but before we go, Rahul, before you go, maybe just one last question. We're now living in this dynamic situation where things change really rapidly. What you see today may not appear tomorrow. What you see tomorrow might not happen in the future. So to you, but yet according to the World Economic Forum, right, creativity is still one of the core things to help us to be more agile, which you mentioned earlier on. So to you, how what are the things can we do to help us develop our personal creativity or probably agility?
I think it's very important to always expect the unexpected, right? Always be prepared to deal with the unexpected. So never become too comfortable in your comfort zone. Always try to stretch that comfort level, right? So I have this talk that you can find on YouTube that says how to become comfortably uncomfortable.
Okay.
Right? I think we need to all start becoming comfortably uncomfortable. Discomfort is the main environment in which creativity thrives, right? So if we want creativity to thrive, we must be willing to make ourselves uncomfortable. Right? Because only when we are hungry, we are in discomfort, that's when for survival purposes, our creative instincts will kick in, right? So I think we need to become we got to become comfortably uncomfortable. Another thing that we need to start doing to enhance our creativity is to keep our eyes and ears open more. Read more, watch more, listen more. The more we observe and we take in our environment around us, the more in tune we are with our surroundings. Or if I were to use the word with our universe, the more we are going to be able to be creative because there'll be more sources for inspiration for us. I think a lot of us, the problem is we start building a shell or a bubble around us and we are very comfortable in that. So we are very disconnected from what is happening in other spaces. So very often we find that this way is the only way. But when you are in tune with the universe, you always realize that, the ocean is not made up of one stream of river leading into it. It's made up of multiple streams of rivers leading into it. So when there is one river that's on the verge of drying out, there are other rivers as well. So we always be able to find alternative pathways, alternative solutions. I think that's important. So to be in tune with the universe so that there are always avenues that are open to us is also quite important. And the third thing is to never stop asking questions. I think inquisitiveness, curiosity is always going to help us keep growing, right? So one of the worst things a person can do to themselves is to stop learning, right? So as long as we are learning, we are growing. The day we stop learning, we are not growing anymore, right? And that way we'll cease to be creative the way we stop learning. So learning is a product of curiosity and inquisitiveness, and learning, I believe, is very important to keep our creativity sharpened.
Wow. Thank you very much, Rahul, for that wonderful sharing. And it's like we're speaking for about 40 minutes on. And
Oh gosh.
I didn't realize that. But thank you once again. Thank you. And for the audience out there, we hope that this session has been very, very beneficial to all of you. And if you wish to contact Rahul, is down here. I already put up here. So you can go to LinkedIn and then find Rahul Shah. Or you can go to the Facebook page, Up Your Game Community. Remember to give a like. And probably we're also looking forward for some other upcoming events from Up Your Game so that we can also benefit and participate in your events as well. And of course, for the rest of you, if not signed up for the Creativity Talks, feel free to go to Creativity Talks Vlogcast in YouTube, sign up, and then we can so that you can be updated of any upcoming videos. All right, so you can also contact us through these various channels as well. So once again, thank you, Rahul, for your sharing. Thank you, and we hope that this session has been very, very useful, and I benefited from it with your 4 eyes and care, and we hope that the audience as well. So maybe any parting shots from Rahul to the audience?
All right. No, guys, just one thing very simple. Stay creative and keep following Hazriq Idrus because it's going to bring some very valuable content to you over the next few months.
All right. Thank you. And all right. So I hope that this session will be very useful, and we hope to see you in the next episode of Creativity Talks with Hazriq. And today, Hazriq and Rahul. And we hope to see you again till the next video. See you. Bye-bye. All right. So yeah, for us, it's about lunchtime. So if you're going for lunch, enjoy your lunch as well. See you. Bye-bye.
If you find this video useful, do like, comment and share so that more people can benefit from this. If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, click on the subscribe button below so that you can receive updates of our upcoming videos. Till then, Hazriq Idrus signing off. See you in the next video.